dedicated to each and every one of you who appreciate a great glass of wine. You know what I mean?
It's Monday. Let's raise a glass to the beginning of another week. It's time to unscrew, uncork, or saber a bottle, and let's begin exploring the wine glass. Today, I sit down with Bastien Leduc, the winemaker for Seven Oxen Winery in Paso Robles. They say you never know when an opportunity will come knocking, and today's podcast is a prime example of that. When a friend of the Neal family's daughter was getting married to Bastien, the topic of wine obviously came up. Bastien's passion was infectious, and the Neal family caught it. When the Neals purchased property on the west side of Paso, they welcomed Bastien to the Seven Oxen Estate Wines family as Vineyard Manager and Winemaker. Hey everybody, I'm Lori Budd, a UC Davis winemaking program, sommelier service, champagne specialist, and WSET Level 2 graduate. You can find Exploring the Wine Glass on all the socials as well as your favorite podcast catchers. If you haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time to swipe, subscribe, rate, and review. I promise I'll never tell you what to drink, but I'll always share what's in my glass. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Allure of the Poor. I am your host, Lori, owner of Gersino Wines in Paso Robles, and we are sitting here today talking with Bastien Leduc of Seven Oxen Winery, and it is a pleasure to have him here today. It took a little zigging and zagging to finally get here, but we are here, so welcome, Bastien.
Thank you. Hi, and thanks for having me, Lori.
Absolutely. So a little bit, my first question to everybody is always the origin story. So, I mean, you're originally from France where wine is kind of ingrained into the culture there. So what is your first, moment of when you realize, yes, wine is where I want my world to be?
It's not very original for a French person, but my parents, my dad was a winemaker and had his own vineyard, so I grew up in it. I didn't get to it; it came to me. And although in my youth there were some years where I grew a part of winemaking and vineyard management learning and all this stuff, I came back quickly to it because I realized that that's what I knew what to do and what I like to do too. So
I think that that's kind of common where people who are growing up in whatever field, whether it's wine or whatever field it is, when they're ingrained in that growing up, they always have that little voice in their head saying, no, you want to do something else. And so you go out and you try something else, and then you're
that's true.
No, I think I'll come back.
No, that's true. And my parents never actually put pressure on me to take over or do the same. Actually, they never did. And that's probably why I later on wanted to do that, I think. So, thanks to them.
When did you leave France? Because you've traveled around quite a bit for winemaking. So, tell us the story of how you've evolved to where you are.
Yes, I've been in California for the last 11 years, but quickly after my studies, or in between my studies, even and during my studies, I wanted to just learn different techniques around France first. That's where it was easier to travel first when I was younger. But even when I was 18, I left for 6 months to go to Australia, and I went to 2 different winemaking regions. I went to the Hunter Valley and the Mornington Peninsula, and the Clare Valley. That's north of Adelaide, and came back and then did my winemaking and vineyard managing studies, viticulture and enology. And during my my school time, I did lots of trainings all around France. So the Loire Valley, the southeast of France, Bandol, the southwest, a bit everywhere really, except the northeast, which is kind of the furthest from where I'm from. I'm from the southwest of France. And once I completed my my degree in winemaking. Then I went back to Australia again. This time it was the Mornington Peninsula. And then came back to France, found a job in Bordeaux where I was a vineyard manager and winemaker. And while I was there, I met my wife, who is American. And she was harvesting grapes on my parents' vineyard. And so I came back that weekend to see my parents, to help them out and visit my friends. And I met her, and she was she was bound to come to Bordeaux to visit a friend. And I was like, well, I'm a great guide, so if you ever come, call me. And then there was a lot of back and forth between France and the US. She's from Boston, so
okay.
there was a lot of transatlantic flights. And here we realized our future was in the US and in California, especially. So that's when we moved here. And the following up is why we were in California. So I'd found a job in the Sierra Nevada, in Shenandoah Valley, in the foothills, Amador County, and at Terre Rouge. And I worked there for like 2.5 years as the vineyard manager. And some family friends of my wife realized that she had married a winemaker and that we were here in California, and they were very interested to meet me and potentially work together. And that's when we decided to work together and start Seven Oxen.
Oh, okay. So it's a fair, that was going to be my next question. We're going to bring into Seven Oxen. So first of all, Seven Oxen is on the west side of Paso, correct? It's on the west side?
That's true. The vineyard is on the west side of Paso. We're like on two AVAs. We're on Templeton Gap and Willow Creek. Of half of the property is on each AVAs. Yeah, that's quite funny actually. And our tasting room and winery is on Ramada Drive, where I'm at now, right next to 101.
Okay.
So yeah, that's where we are.
Okay. So for those who kind of are trying to figure out where it is, so that's right by Tin City, right at the entrance of Tin City is
that's
where
right.
the tasting room is.
That's right. Exactly.
Okay. So you are up in Amador County, and the owners of Seven Oxen are the Neals. Is that correct?
That's right. Yes. Adriana Patrick and their dad Steve are the owners.
Okay.
And Adriana lives in San Luis Obispo and has been here for a long time. And that's kind of also why they were interested in starting something in the area. They were not sure where. We looked from Santa Ynez up to Santa Cruz. And once I learned about Paso, I was like, well, this is where it's going to happen, because that's where it's the most promising and where it has the most potential, I found. And we visited a bunch of places, and when we found our vineyard, we were like, oh, this is it. There was almost no question. It was like a no-brainer. We found an established vineyard that's 26 acres, all head prune, 8 by 10, and with maybe I can go on to the varietals that I grow. Maybe
sure.
I grow some Zinfandel, some Petite Syrah, some Mourvèdre, some Grenache, and some Tannat. And I've been yeah, that's kind of a hit here. A lot of people come to the tasting room for Tannat, even though it's a very limited production. We only have 2.2 acres. But that's a fun one, yes, for sure.
So when you found, well, what year was Seven Oxen created?
That was well, so the Neals purchased the vineyard, the property, in 2012, and that was in May. And there were still some contracts going on with the grapes, and so that year we carried on the contracts. So we sold all the grapes. And 2013 is the first year I kept some grapes to start making wine from our estate vineyard. But we still sold some grapes, so we just grew slowly like that until a few years ago, where we decided to just keep all the grapes for ourselves and make all the wine from it. Okay,
so then you are fully estate now, and that's that was 2 years ago, you said you became fully estate?
Oh no, we've been estate from day one, but we were still selling some fruit from our estate.
Oh, selling the fruit from these. Oh, okay. So now you are
Right.
using all of your fruit. You're using all of your fruit. So you have no
Exactly.
contracts.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. And going back to
Correct.
that Tanat is that a single with the 2.6, acres? Are you doing it as a single varietal, or is it
Yes.
used in blending, or
Well,
both?
actually,
Both.
yes. That's new. That's actually not released. We're going to release that a new blend this summer, and it's called Polaris, and it's 50% Tanat, 50% Grenache.
Oh.
And until now, or until it's the 2017, and until 2017 there was only a single Tanat.
Okay. Wow.
So, and it's a very, very small lot. That Polaris is 2 barrels. So
Okay. Wow. So people are going to have to get on the ball and get that quickly. So that's an interesting blend. That's an interesting blend. How do you, I mean, what was your thought process in terms of creating that wine? I mean, they're almost like, opposite, Tanat is so big and bold, and
that's why I thought they would compete each other so well, because the Grenache has this luscious fruit, giving aspect, and can also sometimes also be tannic, but it was more to complement that lush fruit and then get a bit of that bigger body Tanat in the background. It's true, it's not a light wine as you can expect, but none of my wines are very big. I like always to keep them balanced with still some high acids, not too jammy. But here in Paso, it's hard to keep Grenache in check to be a light wine anyway. It tends to always have some high alcohol, but still has some great acidity as well. So it's always kind of a very interesting wine on its own or blended.
And that Tanat and Grenache, how are they in terms of harvesting? Are they harvested around the same time? Are they?
No, not at all. So Grenache is among the first ones I pick, and Tanat is among the last one I pick with the Mourvèdre. So there's always kind of there are two harvest times more or less. And so early September I pick Grenache, Petite Syrah, Zinfandel, and then there's a break. And then I pick Mourvèdre and Tanat. Usually that's how it goes. With some in between, but so I always ferment them separately anyway. And then it's barrel per barrel that I pick which barrel is going to be blended with which one. And I also do that for Cassidy, which is the blend we're going to taste today, which is Grenache Mourvèdre. And so I always, except last harvest, which was the first time ever where I picked my Grenache, which came in late, and my Mourvèdre came in early, and I actually picked them at the same time and co-fermented them. So that's the first time I was able to do that, and that was amazing. And I wish I could do that every year. But, so that's so it just happens. But
that's what Mother Nature is. It's you don't know what's going to happen from vintage to vintage.
We adapt.
Yes, absolutely. So back when you were driving around all over the coast and looking for the ideal site, and you found your vineyard site, in Paso, what about that vineyard site? You said as soon as you saw it, you knew this was it. You had to have this vineyard. What was so special about this vineyard?
The location first. It's like the first feeling is, so you drive. It's off Cala Canyon Road, and you drive up this road where you don't know where you're going, and you go all the way up. And once you're at the top, then you see the vineyard facing south, so you see the whole Santa Lucia range, and the views are amazing. And it's like one big hill, undivided. It's like 3 hills together, but like one block, all facing more or less the same way. and it's kind of unique. It's in that canyon. The neighbor has now a vineyard, but at the time it was the only vineyard in that block, in that spot. You know, really secluded, and yeah, it's hard to explain. I mean, later on, I knew the soil, everything was right there. Of course, I knew that even before when we did some further analysis and all. But there's a sense of a unique place, you know, when you get to the vineyard. And we actually now offer vineyard tours, so that's kind of a new thing.
Oh, okay.
So people can come check it out. Yeah. And see on their own. And every time people show up, they arrive at the top. I'm like, oh wow, it's more than just the vineyard. It's where it is and what you can see from there. It's really a breathtaking view.
Oh, wow. And then it's located, you said it's located in the 2 AVAs. So that's kind of a unique situation in its own right. So are the soils, you know,
Yeah.
Are the soils different? What's your contrast, you know, from the one side of the vineyard to the other?
There might be a spot or two that could be a little different, but it doesn't land where the line is. So it could have been somewhere else, the line. That's what I'm saying.
Right,
not too
right.
far off, but there's not a huge difference. So for me, there's more different, like my Grenache block and the soil and all is way more different than the rest of my vineyard. Okay. But again, I couldn't tell you if it's more like Templeton Gap or more like Willow Creek, you know. I have really high pH, high limestone content all over the place. So that's definitely a bit more Willow Creek-ish if you want. But the weather is really a blend of both. I have always that afternoon wind kicking in around between 1 and 3, aka the Templeton Gap, right? So that comes in, but the soil is more Willow Creek, so it's really really both, and I love that actually.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I think it's kind of cool because, like, as you say, you know, there's not a definitive line. It's not like Willow Creek AVA, here's a line or a rock wall or something, and now here's, you know, here's the Templeton Gap. And they do just kind of go together, but the vines probably just like different areas better. Have you like sampled where, like you're saying you love your Grenache, where the Grenache block, do you think that, do you have Grenache in another area that is, you know, isn't loving life as?
No, the only varietal the only varietal I could compare to is I have Zinfandel in the Willow Creek and Zinfandel in the Templeton Gap, but there are 2 different clones on 2 different rootstocks as well. So that's just enough to make it different. I don't have the same exact varietal to do a pure comparison. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
And again, the today I don't make the same wine with it. So my Zinfandel in the Willow Creek I make rosé with now.
Oh, okay.
And the Templeton Gap Zin, I make my Zin red with it. So you can't even compare that anymore. But
well, I guess you've established what each one does best.
Right, exactly. And soon I'll have some Mourvèdre that's growing up, and in 2-3 years I'll have that to compare because I'll have it in both again. But not exactly the same clone either. So.
So why these varieties? Why the, you know?
Well, that was one of the reason we picked the place. Part of it was planted with those varietals, and those are the varietals that I like working with. That's the wines I like to drink, and I mean it's easier to do your work when you like it, right? So for me there was I mean I won't divulge anything, but I'm going to plant a varietal next year that I believe is not planted in California anywhere else. And it's a varietal from where I'm from. And so I'm really excited to do that. I found there are 2 vines in California at UC Davis that I can get some cuttings from, and I'm going to develop that. So we'll see where that goes, but I'm pretty excited about that.
Oh, exciting. Exciting. So
Yes.
I'll be looking for like, you're going to do it next year. So in like 6 years, we'll be seeing a new variety from you.
That's right. That's the time frame about.
Right. Now the vineyard site itself is actually like 130 acres, but you have 26 under vine. You're planting these two new vines, and then get the cutting from there. How much further of the vineyard do you think you would ultimately want to go under vine?
We're not gonna change much more of that, but there is a little bit of room for expansion that we might want to plant some more. My idea is on planting some whites, maybe some Grenache Blanc and some Picpoul. That's my idea. It will be 2 small blocks, potentially 1 acre of each, or a total of 3 acres. I don't know. There is some more room for expanding and planting some more. Then it becomes a bit difficult because it's pretty steep, and it will require buying some different equipment, some crawlers and so and so. So there's a bit of a limit. So, and right now those are cow pastures. So we have some cows just grazing and keeping it low for fire hazard and whatnot. Yeah, but we have a lot of also hills that are just woods and not farmable, if you will.
Okay. All right. And then you do all of your vineyard sites or your vineyard is organically farmed, right?
That's right. Yes, we're not certified, but we're going to probably go through that process very soon, actually, which I'm excited about. But at the beginning, I was with the Neal. That was our first connection. We agreed on the philosophy of doing things, and beside liking wine, they didn't know much about farming or making wine, so they just relied on me for that. But our common goal and philosophy was organic farming and respect of the land, and etc., etc. So it was more of a choice for us right away than a marketing argument later on. You know what I mean? Right. So for me, it was important to just do it right away, and then later on see if we're going to be certified. And now might be the moment where we can do that. So that's the paperwork now.
Right. And then that's always, I think, a toss-up of that wineries go through, because it's a lot of hoops to actually get certified, and a lot of money just to get certified. And it's more the philosophy, like you're saying, you do it because you want to be good to nature, and the fruit that it produces.
Right.
Does it but do you think that marketing wise it's a benefit to actually be certified, or
well, for some people, I mean, anybody can say they farm organically, right? If they're not certified. So
true. You would hope they don't, but true.
Right, exactly. So I mean, I say it because I do it, but ultimately, I also want to prove it and say, look, you can trust us. We're really doing it. This is our certification. So that's kind of the last goal, all right? Okay. But I haven't started the process yet, so that's in the books. I think
that's a 3-year process, right?
I think so. Yeah. 2 or 3 years. Yeah.
And now a word from our sponsor. Looking to be in the know about Dracaena Wines? Want to be the first to know about our new releases and special offers? All you need to do is sign up for our newsletter. There is no commitment necessary, and I promise you we won't spam your mailbox with loads of messages. Need another reason to sign up? Quite possibly the best reason? You'll immediately get a discount code for 10% off your first purchase and be privy to newsletter-only discounts. Let Dracaena Wines turn your moments into great memories. Visit our website, www.dracaenawines.com, or use the link in show notes to sign up. It will take you less than a minute, but the rewards will last a lifetime. So let's talk about Seven Oxen itself. Where does that name come from?
It's an old Latin term from the Romans, which was used by them to describe the Big Dipper. So it's the 7 stars of the Big Dipper. And for them, they didn't have a time-lapse camera, but they knew that throughout the season, they would rotate around Polaris. And for them, it was like 7 oxen on a threshing floor. So they were like, whoop, when they are milling. Yes. So that's also the inspiration behind our label. So if you see here, you have those rings, and those are the stars when you take a time lapse. So those are the 7 oxen. So that's where it's from. And we liked what we liked was the connection with farming and ox. And then I also use some biodynamic farming techniques. And so there's kind of like connection with the cosmos. So that's where it kind of ties in. And yeah.
That's fantastic. And now let's talk about this Cassidy. Where does the name like Polaris is also constellation? What's Cassidy?
Right. Cassidy is more of that's a family name from the Neal. So that was also kind of a tribute to the owners.
Ah, okay.
It's shared among the Adriana and Steve and their grandmother. So that was kind of a cool.
Is that's a surname? Cassidy, is there?
Well,
is
it's Adriana's middle name, and that was her grandmother's name.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. I grew up with a family of Cassidys, so I like the name. So let's talk about this. This is a blend of Mourvèdre and Grenache you had mentioned?
That's right. So it's 70% Mourvèdre. 70% Grenache and 30% Mourvèdre.
Very aromatic.
So it's a GM, no S.
There you go. And now is this wine produced every vintage? A Cassidy?
Yes, this is the blend exactly. And from year to year, it varies a bit into the percentage of the blend. So I can lean but usually never less than 60% Grenache and kind of never more than 70, but it oscillates in that range usually. That's where the balance falls usually. Yeah.
Okay. So your thought process is always a Grenache led wine.
Right. Okay. Yes. Well, it's more like once you go past that percentage of Mourvèdre, it kind of takes over, and the balance of the savory from the Mourvèdre and the sweet from the Grenache is overpowered by the Mourvèdre. So that's kind of where it's the sweet spot for me, at least to my taste buds. Then is it shared with everyone else? That's the other question.
It's got you took the word out of my mouth. It's got a savoriness to it that I would guess would be the Mourvèdre, and the Grenache is that mid palate is just like is Grenache. It's like, here I am, here,
right.
It's a nice soft mid palate, and it's a medium bodied wine. It's not super light. It's not a full bodied wine.
No. Yes, I agree.
But it's got like it's got like shavings in the aromas, like more the earth, the graphite, that type of thing, and it's got a floral aspect.
Usually, if you were to taste my Mourvèdre, you would understand the blend even more, tasting the Grenache and the Mourvèdre separately, and it's easier to like decompose it and understand it that way. But what I like is where it blends, and it's intricate. It's like I think it bonds together well.
It does. It's a nice combination, and it adds like it's a multifaceted wine. So it's got different layers to it. It's not just unidimensional because of that, the Mourvèdre. And it kind of
completely.
It kind of. I think the nose, you get both. I think you get a Grenache and a Mourvèdre in it, and then like I said, it's Grenache, and then the Mourvèdre just carries it through to an extremely long finish, a really nice long finish. And this is what
Mhm.
vintage are we drinking? This is a
2016.
2016, and this is your current release?
It is. And pretty soon we're going to release the 17, actually.
Okay, so can you tell me about the process? Like, what's your barrel, your aging process and things like that? How did you get these wines together?
Sure. So again, again, so as I was mentioning before, all the wines are fermented separately,
Mm-hmm.
and then I even divide each block in like 2 or 3 sections, and I ferment all of those separately and barrel per barrel, and it's really at the end, at the blending time, that I select which barrel goes to what. And my aging process usually for all my wines across is 18 months in neutral barrels.
Oh, okay.
When I say neutral, they're between 3 and 10 years old barrels. And just for the Tanat, for my Zinfandel Reserve, and for my Petite Syrah, do I use new oak?
Oh, okay.
And it's usually no more than 50%. It's like 30 to 50% depending on the varietal and the quantity I have. Yeah.
And so are these barrels, or are they old red barrels, or are you purchasing white barrels?
Yeah, every year I purchase some. We started. I had to buy some barrels, but
right.
I bought I bought some used barrels, and that's how we started. And since then, I've bought some every year, and I even purchased some used barrels since. But now I don't really buy any more used barrels. I just purchase a very few new ones each year, and
and then they become the used barrels.
Exactly. That's how it goes.
Absolutely. Yeah, it is definitely not heavily oaked, and it's, you're not, right. You're getting the lessening of the tannin by that oak without having that vanilla, the thing. And the fruit is not at all, it's not at all jammy. It's not,
right.
In your face, high,
that's right.
110 degree weather fruit that can happen.
Yes, so I get 110, but all across, usually my wines, I like to keep some acidity and not push the maturation too far, because in my philosophy is I like to pick the fruit how I'm gonna like it to make the wine, and not play the chemist in the winery and add tartaric and this and that. So that's why I mean, I like my wines balanced and not jammy or over powerful. So you'll never find a big oak in my wines. It's always just behind or complementary,
Right. Adding a little backbone structure, not in the forefront.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
So I read that you love being a beekeeper. Do you have your own hives?
Just at the beginning, and I never completed that love for bees. And I might get back into it, but I cannot say I'm a beekeeper. No, I was very close to become one, and I wish I had been one, but I have 2 kids, and that took some time away. So I'm not a beekeeper. I'm a child keeper more than a beekeeper.
Oh, there you go. There you go. It might be easier to chase the bees than the children.
Sometimes, probably.
Awesome. So tell me, what are some other you have blends, you said? Let's talk about a couple of other offerings that you have at Seven Oxen.
Yes, so I have I say a pure Mourvèdre. It's not a pure Mourvèdre. I put 10% Grenache in it, but it's very dominant Mourvèdre. All right. Yes, exactly. I make also 100% Grenache. A new, so we're going to release that on April 17th. The first one, 100% Petite Syrah.
Oh, wow.
Which until now, until 2016, we were selling the grapes, and since 17 we kept it. It's a small block too, so it's a small lot, but Adriana convinced me to keep it, and I'm glad she did, because it's it's pretty good, I think. I was never really a big fan of Petite Syrah myself, and neither Zinfandel, to be honest, before I moved here. And growing it and taking care of it made me like both, actually. So it kind of grew into me.
Well,
now I understand a bit more what they are, actually.
Right, right. So we always hear the saying, you know, every winemaker, I think, has their own version of saying that the wines are made in the vineyard, you know,
Yes,
and the
yes.
adage of what you can't, you know, how do they say? You can't make great wine out of bad fruit, but you can make bad wine out of grapefruit. Okay.
Yes.
And you love being in the vineyard. So like how,
For sure. Yes.
like, what is your, I mean, and
No, I agree with that. I was saying, I don't like playing the chemist in the winery.
right.
For me, it's really, I don't know. I mean, making the wine takes a lot of time, but that's not where the decision are made. It's kind of the follow-up. And if everything was done right before that, then it's pretty easy. I want to say it's not easy, but it's more straightforward. I want to say, and for sure for me before, as again I grew up on a vineyard and with my parents, so I learned how to grow grapes before I learned how to make wine. And I still find that today. Of course I live on the vineyard, so that's. I do all the tractor work, all of that stuff. That's me. So I am very involved with the process. That's for sure. So for me, it's very important to have that control too.
Right, right. And then that's how I correlate what your statement was, is that you weren't really a big Zinfandel or a Petite Syrah fan until you're growing it and you're seeing it from the very get-go.
That's right.
You create this new appreciation, for it. And it's kind of like, you know, a romance. You get to, you know, you have to introduce yourselves to each other and get to know each other a bit. Right.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, for sure. And when you take care of it and you grow with it and you understand it better. So now I understand more what it is in itself, for sure.
And what it can offer and how different, you know, it can be from others, right?
Completely. Yeah.
So if you had to pick one over the other, we won't hold it against you either way, but if you had to pick one over the other, would you prefer to be more in the vineyard or more in the winery?
I think in the vineyard. Yeah, but again, it's the winery is a fun work, but it's kind of this short time of this short process. There's of course necessary process to have wine at the end, but the focus all year long is so much more in the vineyard than there. I mean, also the harvest time is so time consuming that I guess it goes by quicker. Maybe, I don't know. But I mean, it's the whole thing. But for me, I wouldn't do it any other way. I couldn't be able to buy grapes to make wine. I wouldn't see the. I like to control it. I like to make wine with what I can make and control through the whole process of growing the grapes, for sure.
Right, being hands-on from dirt to bottle,
right,
basically. Right.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was, I forgot to mention, but that was one of the talks we had with the Neals at the very beginning. I told them, I was like, if we are to make wine together, we need to have the vineyard. For me, I don't see any interest of buying grapes from here and there and making wine. There needs to be a connection for me. I need to be able to control the growing process to make the grapes and then make the wine. It just ties into with the philosophy of growing organic and belonging to to a place, and well, it was a long. It wasn't an okay, but they agreed with that. They understood what I stood for. You know.
So when you first started making wine for Seven Oxen, what was your production at that point? What was the production of Seven Oxen?
Oh, I think it was like 500 cases the first year.
And then did you already have the tasting 600. Room? Did you already have the tasting room, or did that come later?
No, we started in the front bar of Thomas Hill Organics, downtown Paso. We were there for a couple of years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
And then we moved where we are now. So we've been here, I think it's the third year we've been here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And so the winery is on the vineyard site, and then just the tasting room is... Oh, okay.
No, the winery is where the tasting room is.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So I'm at the tasting room. I don't know if you see behind me.
I can see barrels behind
right
you.
there,
Yeah, I do.
window.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm at the tasting room, and that's the winery right here.
Okay. So you're processing down by Tin City. So I have to be honest.
Exactly. I actually
drive into Tin City all the time, but I'm not. You're by Two Moons.
We're just after that. So if you drive, no, it's past. So if you drive from Paso on Ramada Drive,
right,
you have to pass that intersection to Tin City, and it's right after. And there's like 4 buildings together.
Okay.
And we're in the same building as Carl Weiss Distillery, Kilo Brewing,
okay,
and Anglem.
Okay, yes. I got you. All right, now I know exactly where you are. Okay.
And I actually process my fruit with Steve Anglem at the other side of the building. So I just forklift my beans, process there, and bring them back here.
Oh, very nice. Very nice.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. See, and that's
the
other
kind of
thing.
2 small structures. Yeah.
With a common kind of processing area. That's another thing about Paso. I think that, wineries working together to benefit each other,
yes,
is really,
for sure.
really a Paso thing. That it really is. All right. So now we know where we can taste. We know we can go to the tasting room. When can they taste? I mean, COVID has changed everything. So I'm assuming you are by appointment.
We are, and we have a nice patio. We are kind of the only one in the whole building to have a patio. Now they do some tastings on the sides as well, but we can accommodate people here. It's pretty nice, and we have kind of this overhead door that we can open, so there's kind of this inside outside area as well. That's very nice. And we are open from Thursday to Monday.
Okay.
From 11 to 5 by appointment. Yes.
And were you by appointment prior to COVID, or is this
no, we're not. No.
Are you going to stay?
Yeah, but I think so, because it's so great. We can focus much better on our customers and give them the full experience. I think it's really nice. Yes, I find it really nice.
That's what I think most wineries, as horrible as it is to say, a positive of COVID, is the by appointment. It seems to be that most wineries in Paso, and even some places, up north and stuff that I've spoken to, they like the idea of by appointment, because, as you said, it's a more, focused tasting. It's a more, customer centric environment for them, and
for sure,
what's going on, and they know what's going on. So dog friendly?
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And now, do you know where they can find Seven Oxen on social media? Are you all over social media?
Yes, we're at Seven Oxen, all spelled out, SEVEN Oxen. We're on Facebook and Instagram.
Okay.
And we have a website, of course, which is sevenoxen.com.
And that's where they can place orders. Do you ship to most places?
That's right. We ship to a lot of places, yes.
Okay.
Not everywhere, but to a lot of places.
Yeah. Utah, no. But so is there anything that I didn't ask you that you want to talk about, either yourself or something about Seven Oxen that I missed before we?
I don't know if I mentioned that also we're releasing all our 17s but one on April 17th.
Okay.
With some new wines. So Petite Syrah is going to be one. That's the first release ever. And the I just said Petite Syrah. And later on this summer will be Polaris. So that Tannat Grenache blend.
Okay, Polaris. I have to say, I love the fact that it's all
something
kind of
to look for.
constellation related, because that's
right.
I love the constellation. Dracaena actually comes from Draco, the constellation. So we're constellation focused also, although we were terrified to do anything constellation because of Constellation Brands.
Yes.
So kudos for that. I absolutely love it. And then I did ask you said you started with about 500 cases. What is your production at about now?
It's pretty limited still. We are like 1,200.
Okay.
Yeah, it might go up slightly in the future because of some recent planting, but it won't happen before a few years. Yeah.
And what about a club membership? Do you have a club?
We do have a club. There's like 2 tiers. There's a club level 1, which is a 2 times 6 bottles throughout the year, and a level 2, which is 2 times 12 bottles. And with some perks, so level 1 gets 15% of all purchase, and level 2 gets 20%. Plus some free access to some parties and things like that. But the real new thing that just came out on our website is the Vineyard Tours. So that's I'm the tour guide, and that's only on Fridays, 2:30, I believe, and you can do that through our website for sure.
Okay, so go to sevenoxen.com and sign up for a tasting and for a vineyard tour. And sure, are they walking on that vineyard tour, or are you?
They're walking. Yes,
so
it's a small walk on a ridge with 360 views. Yep, I know the jaw is gonna fall.
Well, I'm gonna have to get over there and check out the vineyard site. I love having my jaw drop from the beauty of the vines.
There are plenty of places in Paso to have that jaw dropped. It's not unique, but each has their own little things.
Right. Paso is definitely a beautiful, beautiful place. But anyway, Bastien, I would just want to say thank you very much for taking your time out of what I'm sure is a very, very busy day to share more information about Seven Oxen and thank you for sharing Cassidy with me. It is a lovely wine, and I will be sharing it with my husband tonight with some cheese as we sit back and actually relax a little bit. So I just want to say, Sláinte, thank you very much and have a great day.
This has been another episode of Exploring the Wine Glass. Thanks for listening. If you have suggestions on what topics you would like me to discuss, please reach out on social media. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook as Exploring the Wine Glass. I am also on LinkedIn as Lori Hoytbud. Of course, you can always email me at exploringthewineglass@gmail.com. If you enjoyed what you heard, please rate, review, and subscribe to help others find me more easily. And most importantly, tell your wine-loving friends, because if you like the podcast, they will too. Music was Wine by Kevens. Until next week, Sláinte.
You are so special, even in the Bible, water gon' turn right into